Well, hello, and thank you for joining me for the inaugural broadcast of Diane Writes. So, I'm Diane Morrison, or Sable Aradia, as I'm known online in some circles, and I'm a published author, and I figured I needed to set a place and time when I would be writing because I've been doing lots of editing and I've been doing lots of world building on World Anvil, so shout out to all my Anvilite buddies out there. But I kind of needed to get back into drafting, so I figured I would do it here, and maybe other people might want to write with me. Right? And in between, I figured I might answer some writing questions, and goes to show you that um, it goes to show you that imposter syndrome is always a problem because I'm like, well, who the hell am I to give people writing advice and answer writing questions, right? But that is my resume right there. So there are what I think a total of, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so 9 books that have at least a piece by me in it. Hello, thank you for the follow, Miladaman. Did I pronounce that right? Oh, and thank you for the follow, Aaron Ree. I did not see you, so hello. Um, yeah, so 9 books and 3 magazines with my material in it. Some of it self-published. Some of it is um, traditionally published, and some of it is small press. So I figured I've got actually kind of a range, and maybe I could actually offer people some help. And I don't have the stream manager open, so I better do that. Hopefully this is not showing up on my screen here. No, it does not. Okay, good. All right, so screen manager. All right. You had a question, and I'm sorry I missed it. It flashed by my screen and it did not show up on my stream manager. So would you mind repeating it? Or was that in Anvil chat somewhere? Oh, it appeared. And I don't know where it is. Okay. I'm sorry there, Miladaman. If you asked the question in the chat and I missed it, then please feel free to ask it again. I'm sorry, I did not have the stream manager up. This is the first time I've used this setup. I've been playcasting on my hubby's computer, and he's been running all of that. And we've been playcasting our RPG, but I have not been doing this format. So this is new to me, and I will probably screw things up. So if you have any advice or suggestions and you're a more experienced streamer than me, feel free to let me know. Okay, yeah, pronunciation was close enough. Barely anyone outside Norway pronounces it right anyways. Okay, so didn't ask a question, so it wasn't you. It might have been, I just saw something flash across the screen as a bubble that appeared in the bottom right-hand side of my screen, so it could have been you. So, sorry. All right, well, if you want to correct my pronunciation, that would be, that'd be awesome, because I want to get stuff right, so. All right, so let's get started with a quick little 5-minute warm-up sprint, shall we? I'm going to change the music here because I am currently working on I'm working on the Toy Soldier Saga. I'm in the middle of, I actually kind of near the end of drafting the first draft of book 3, and it's kind of space fantasy, so I'm going to look for my Epic Space Star Battles playlist here. I hope, I don't know. Maybe I'll leave this. This is good tension, actually. So I am using Sirenscape for my music, if anybody wants to know. It's a role-playing music utility. All right. So I'll put that screen back up. So if you have a question during the course of the broadcast, just like I've seen it done in other areas, type in question in all capital letters and then your question, and then I can answer it. And yeah, in the meantime, we'll get a timer going here. I know there's a timer. Oh, haha, I left my phone in the other room. Okay. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye on the time. That's fine. All right. Put up the other screen. All right, so there's my page. All right, so it is 1:13 according to my clock. So we're going to do a quick little 5-minute word sprint. For those of you who may not know what word sprints are, in case this is your first writing sprint thing that you have done, how it works is that we set a time, and in that time we write as much as we possibly can, and we try not to rethink ourselves or edit. And then when we go back, we count how many words we have, and maybe shout it in the chat so that other people can cheer you on. And if if you don't do well, I always do about the middle range when I do this on NaNoWriMo and stuff like that. So I'm not like a super fast. I can type quickly, but I can't think that quickly. I like to think about how I phrase things. So don't worry if you don't get as good as you think you might. Eventually, when we have more viewers, because this is a brand new stream and people don't know about it yet, I'm going to set up little friendly contests. For those of you who may be familiar with National Novel Writing Month, it's kind of going to be like the the Nano House Cup. So, all right. And okay, 1:14 will word sprint until 1:19 on my clock, so 5 minutes from now. And go. And it's 1:19, so that's time to stop our sprint. Oh, isn't that typical? Just a second here. Change capture. I don't know if it's showing up on your screen like it's showing up on my screen there, but I'm going to quickly switch to something else and switch back because what a pain in my butt. I found that if I do this, that it ends up going back to what it should be going back to. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't understand. But, all right, so I'm going to count my words here. And if you're writing with me, feel free to count your words and share them in the chat. So, 9, 10. So I got 114 according to my count. 125. Good job. All right. Excellent. I think we might be it today, but that's quite all right. This will get bigger. You know, I'm new. I'm a new channel. This stream is brand new, so cool. I'm glad I have someone to write with that's fun because it makes it feel more like it's, you know, not a solitary activity, which this often is, right? So let me see. I kind of hoped I'd have a couple more people to start with, but that's all right. Do you have any questions? If not, then I'll just start randomly picking a topic and I'll talk about it for the time being because, you know, might as well. Yeah, I really like the idea of writing streams too. I'm probably going to try to join Janet from World Anvil's writing stream because that's, you know, that should be a lot of fun. I figured that I needed more of these to motivate myself. I might change the time, right? Like I kind of picked this time because I didn't see anything that I was cross-scheduling with other Anvilites today. No, that's fair if you don't have any questions. That's cool. Maybe people, you know, don't know what to ask, right? So, you know, I already saw a comment on the Discord where someone was saying, you need to stream earlier because this is too late for me. I guess they're in Europe. I don't blame them. I don't know, or Australia even. I'm not streaming at 2 o'clock in the morning my time, though. Well, okay, I might, but you can't bet on that because I do suffer from insomnia like most writers. So I may get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and stream writing, but, I'm not scheduling that. And I see that I have been very short-sighted because I have not refilled my coffee. Right. Random topics. Well, actually, let me ask you a few questions. It's a bit on the late side for you as well, so you'll have to leave to go to bed in about half an hour. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Either way, no problem. I'm going to be here for a few hours. I'm going to switch this over to my YouTube as well when I'm done. I would like to stream to both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, but, it's, everything seems to cost a bunch of money in order to do that. So I will have to have more patrons before that is going to happen. But, it's in the plans. Well, thanks for staying up a little bit and writing with me anyway. Maybe I won't waste your time by jaw-jacking for a while here then. I don't know. Well, what are you working on right now there? Milodaman? Would that be closer? I don't know. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, I like Scandinavian languages. I would like to know more. I speak English and a little conversational French because I am Canadian and I took it in school, so I know it well enough that I can go to Quebec and read the signs. Maybe ask where the corner store is. That's what I'm capable of doing. And I don't know a lot of other languages, but I've always loved them and I'd love to learn. And the Scandinavian languages is just so interesting. They're just so fascinating. But yeah, what are you working on right now? Is it anything you care to share, or my story's an epic fantasy space opera. It's like all the tropes of space opera, except that it's all operated by magic, no science involved. I'm currently writing an overachiever background story for one of my characters, and it's getting way too long. You know what? I'm an overwriter too. I never like the word count thing is like a straitjacket. I'm like, and I always end up cutting things, whether it's for World Anvil challenges or submission guidelines. So it's an epic fantasy set in my world of Shirion, like everything else I write. Cool. I love epic fantasy. It's probably one of my favorite genres. I kind of had this vision of taking epic fantasy tropes and transferring them into another setting, which is kind of why I'm writing it. This one is 238k words, and I'm about halfway, and this is a backstory? Okay, I thought I was a little insane. You might beat me. I'm let's see here. Okay, at book 3, like I said, I'm maybe somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 of the way through the first draft of book 3, and I've got a novella and a novelette and a short story that have all been published in this series. The novels haven't, though, right? And I think I'm pushing around 5 to 6k words with all of that. Maybe. Probably more like 5k, or 500k, rather. 500k words, but that's awesome. Of course, then again, I haven't exactly added up all my World Anvil world building words. Not intending to publish it, so it's a lot of extra words that would be mercilessly cut if I'm going to show it to someone. But these are good skills for National Novel Writing Month. Do you do National Novel Writing Month? I love it. I'm a big fan. That's probably why I have so many long. Awesome. Yeah, exactly, right? So one of the early writer mistakes that I used to do, which I don't do it anymore, right? Because I've learned not to do it. Oh, your 12th year. Good for you. I've only been doing it. This will be my 10th this year. So Right on. So, like, we're old hats. No wonder you're here for the writing sprints. Yeah, I love them. Word sprints are good because, then it's teamwork instead of individual stuff, right? So, no, that's great. I used to fill in a lot of adjectives, and I don't do that anymore because I have learned that this is bad writing. So I don't find nano as easy as I did when I first started, ironically. So, all right, shall we do another writing sprint before you have to go to bed? Let's see here. It's 1:29. We'll start at 1:30, and you lost your first 5 though before you learn that first drafts can suck. Yes, of course, first drafts suck. This is why I have to completely rewrite this. Like, I'm jumping in and I'm writing where I left off, but what I really want to do is go back and rewrite everything. And I'm like, okay, you're just wasting time at this point. So that's why I'm forcing myself to do this by streaming. Right. So, but yeah. Yeah, well, I've lost and I've won too. So, it's all right. The point is the effort. And 5,000 words that you didn't have before, it's 5,000 words you didn't have before, right? So how long shall we go for our next sprint, do you think? You want to do what, 15 minutes, you figure? 20? Since you've got to go to bed pretty soon, I want to maximize your writing time. Gotcha. Okay. Up for anything, soft limit 1 hour, but tonight maybe 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, sounds great. Okay, let's go for 20 so you can maximize your time. And if you're ready, it's 1:30 according to my clock, so 0:30 as they used to do in Nano, so we'll start. 1 minute to end of sprint, guys. All right, and that's it. Time is up for our sprint. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in while we were sprinting. We've had a few follows, and that's really great. Sarah Grimm 2, Diane Writes, Author Goddess, and Itanshi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yes, right on, I agree. Welcome. All right, I'm going to count my words here. I don't think I did that great. I did a lot of thinking. Welcome to the writing tank. Thank you. You have a stream where you write too, Itanshi? I'd love to check it out. Feel free to drop the link in the chat. Writers are always looking for more writers to connect with, I think. So I'll count my words in the meantime. Go back to where I last had my asterisks. Yeah, I didn't think I'd done that well. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Feel free to drop your own totals in the chat if you were sprinting with us. You know what I'm not doing? Ha 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 ha. I'm not doing this, which would be great. See, it's been a while since I did word sprints with people. So, all right. This is much more intelligent. All right, I got 317 words myself. 445. Good job. That's great. Itanshi says, I do. I connect with most of the writers here on Twitch. Well, that's great. I will definitely check out your channel and have a look, because that's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Miladaman, good night, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Yeah, I may do an earlier stream at some point during the week, so keep your eye on the channel. Yeah. Nice to see a few people here. All right, so this is my in-between section where I figured I would answer writing questions, but it sounds like mostly I've been joined by a lot of experienced writers. I know that Author Goddess is a published author as well, because she's a friend and we met through writing, and I read her books and I'm a fan. She writes the Rune Spell series, if anybody is looking for that great urban fantasy. Awesome Melodon, and I hope to see you then. Have a good sleep. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so does anybody have any questions? If you do, just type question in all caps and then the question in the chat so that I don't miss it, and I will be happy to do my best to answer it. I guess while I'm waiting to see if anybody has any questions, I'll ask you guys some questions. What are you working on right now? Guess I'll put the big picture up while we're like yapping away. Yeah. So, yeah, this is my face and my COVID silver hair because I have not been to the hairdresser. So. Dragon Writes says, I'm working on my thesis for my MFA as well as my next serial for Patreon, personally between big projects. Yeah, you sound like you got a lot going on. That's pretty typical for me. I tend to have a lot of different projects going on too. It's cool. What's your Patreon? What are you writing for your patrons? Because that's pretty cool. I write for my patrons too. I'm working on the draft of a series that I am serializing for my patrons on my World Anvil site, and it's called the Toy Soldier Saga. Right, so yeah, that's what I'm doing. I had a cool thing happen where I had a person who has been a fan, right, since I was writing the series in its first incarnation, which was a fan fiction thing for a Dungeons and Dragons setting. And it was my first NaNoWriMo project. And initially I kind of put stuff out there just, see what people thought. And he reconnected with me back on my Patreon, and he's like, "Are you done yet?" And of course I'm not. So I thought that was a good kick in the ass to get going, right? So, and incidentally, the reason why the channel is marked mature is because I swear. I'm Canadian, I swear. When I stop swearing, that's when you need to be concerned, right? So, yeah. And if I'm not looking at you, it's just because my camera is like up there at the top of my screen, and I'm like, I just feel weird doing that. A Dragon Writes says, it's a grimdark fantasy in a second world with some modern aspects like vehicles. Very Final Fantasy 15 feeling. Nice! I love science fantasy. That is awesome. Man, hearing Canadian and swearing in the same sentence sounds so strange for me, says Dragon Writes. Product placement. Yeah. Well, sure, why not? I gotta mention what I'm working on, but no, it wasn't intended that way, but... Yeah, Final Fantasy 15. Yeah, I love science fantasy so much. It's like my favorite genre. There's so much that you can do with it, right? So that's great. Good for you. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay, well, and Canadians and swearing. Honestly, Canadians swear all the time when they're relaxed, right? And they're comfortable with their friends. The reason why we have a reputation for being polite is because we're polite when we feel that a situation is tense. And the more polite we are, the more tense the situation is from our perspective. If we start looking at you and we're speaking in a very polite, flat monotone, that's the last warning, as my friend Graham Barber tweeted on his Twitter last night in response to my whole, what is this? Twitter's going to stop us from swearing. Canadians aren't going to be able to communicate on this platform at all. So, yeah. But truthfully, that's the thing. So, and why? Because we're a country that was formed by three different, significantly different cultures that had to get along. And I know that, everybody thinks like, there's no real difference between English and French people, but they used to think there was like this vast difference, and hello, we're to win. I hope I am pronouncing that right. Of course, it could be we're doing, because it could be Welsh for all I know, and I butcher Welsh, so sorry. Glad you could join us. Yeah, so anyway, we had to learn how to get along with each other, even though we were not friends when we first formed the country. So our culture has developed it's important for us to be polite in public. So I'm so glad you could join us. It's great. I'm kind of in between downtime here between writing sprints, so I'm opening it up to questions, but we're ending up talking about what other people are working on, and that's cool. I'm happy to do that. If you're joining us for a sprint, maybe you'll tell us what you're working on. A Dragon Writes says, I'm from the Midwest in the US, so I know that weird culture annotations everyone has, like the concept of saying ope. Ope? I don't know. Author Goddess has no audio. Yes, checked device and settings, get audio fine from other sites. That's so weird. Can you guys hear me? My mic says it's working. I don't know. Okay, I will check. Is my Twitch tab muted? Oh, I hope not. Just... Oh, okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know you're not talking to me. I'm like, no, I hope I haven't been like, sitting here yapping mutely into space this whole time. Yeah, it does say my mic is picking up according to the instrument. I don't know what would cause that. Yeah, I'm always messing up my audio settings too. It could totally have been me. That's why I had to check. I'm like, oh no. Oh. Would you do not plug in your headphones properly? I do that all the time. I think it's plugged in and it's not. The Dragon Writes says, I have Facebook tabs muted and get confused why my videos don't have audio when I watch it. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I do stuff like that all the time too. This is why I had to check and make sure it wasn't me, because I am very likely to have screwed this up. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you could join us. I'm glad you got audio now. That's good. All right, well, we're at, I figure I'm going to go. Yeah, such convenience until you forget. Yeah, I know, right? Me too. Yeah. I figure I'm going to try to do this for about 3 hours, and I'm going to take, so it's been 1 hour now, right? So I'm going to take a brief break here for a minute, and I'm going to refill the coffee that I unintelligently did not refill before I started streaming. So hopefully you guys will still be around. And in the meantime, if you have questions, type question in capital letters and then your question in the chat. Author Goddess says she butt dances. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. But yeah, type question and then the question in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them. Or, feel free to share what you're working on or links to your projects or whatever you like. And I will be back in a few minutes. I'm just getting coffee. Bye. hello, I'm back, and I see that we have some new faces in the chat. That's awesome. Hello, True Undead Hero. I'm glad you could make it. I'm just reading your chat stuff here. I'm very interested as to what you're working on. Yes, I have been talking to True Undead Hero on Discord about what he's working on. Very interesting colonial fantasy with like modern complications and gunpowder. It's fascinating. All right, so let me scroll back here for my YouTube audience, because I'm going to transfer these over to YouTube. I will not be hosting this live on YouTube until I have a few more patrons, because it apparently costs like at least $12 a month US in order to get anything that I have seen, that's the cheapest one I've seen, to stream to multiple platforms at once, right? So I would like to, I don't want to pay that out of my pocket, so... Oh, thank you very much for the follow, Chotaku, right? And Weirdwin has also followed, so thank you guys very much. It's great. All right, yes. So, okay, so while I was gone, Author Goddess was asked by a Dragon Writes, does she stream on Twitch at all? She says no, not unless she's doing interviews, but she does do interviews with other writers, so you may want to talk to her about that. She's pretty cool. Yeah, some people arrive. Welcome, writers. Thank you for welcoming the writers at Itanchi while I was gone. Yeah, it was a big jump in people all of a sudden. Dragon Wright says, oh wow, that was a big jump in people. Hi, people. Itanchi says that they're lurking, so have a good stream. Thank you for lurking. Little weird word Wade says Weirdwin, if I'm pronouncing that right. Itanchi Wide? Weirdwin says what? Dragon Wright says what? True Undead Hero says, hello, I'm Barbarossa from World Anvil, which is where I know him from, so that's great. A Dragon Wright says, hey ya! True Undead Hero says, hi Dragon Writes, what you writing? Weirdwin says, there's a bunch of writers on Twitch. We tend to pile into streams like packs of starving bookworms. Right on. Cool. I did not know that there are a bunch of writers on Twitch. I have been a very casual user of Twitch. I have not watched a lot on Twitch until I got on World Anvil and started watching their streams regularly, and then I started finding other streams through the streams that they host and the people that they have on their show, and I had not yet tapped into the writing community, but I'm going to do that now, because definitely I'm a starving bookworm and I am always looking for more writers to connect with, so that's great. A Dragon Writes says they're writing grimdark fantasy right now with a splash of modern tech, and Final Fantasy 15 was the comparison earlier. I'm definitely in. I wanna know more. Right. True Undead Hero says, ooh, that's interesting. I couldn't agree more. A Dragon Writes says, yeah, so glad that now they're discovering more writer streamers. True Undead Hero is working on a D&D world and a dark early modern fantasy. Yes, and a Dragon Wright says, I want to work on a tabletop piece at some point. Yeah, it's a different kind of writing to write for tabletop. I've been working on some of that too. In my worlds are often they come from role-playing games that I have played, right? So we come up with this idea for a world, and then we start playing in it, and then we add things, right? And we being my husband and I. Right. So what he'll do is, I'll start writing in the worlds and he'll be like, oh, that's interesting. And then he'll start creating game mechanics for it in whatever game that we're working on. Right now, excuse me, the game that we're gaming in is Pathfinder First Edition, which is why we're doing our playcast about our Toy Soldier Saga campaign, which is not what's going on in the books right now. It's the history of it. It happened before, right? And we're, that's the other stream that I'm doing on a regular basis. That's on Saturday nights. Right, so we're working on that, and it's very different. He's better at the game statistics than I am, and so I let him take care of that stuff. But then I end up doing stuff like flavor text, and I've also done some flavor text writing for another friend of mine who is designing a game in a sort of a very different space fantasy world. So yeah, it's different. True Undead Hero says, I'm using D&D 5e to make a colonial world and just got done creating 2 new classes, which is really cool, and I will definitely have to check those out. The Plaguemancer, Plague Doctor, and the Ancient Scholar. That definitely sounds period for the period you're working in. That's very cool. Right, I'm not going to read everything here because I'm getting behind. Right. Weirdwin, it says, I'm doing edits on an anthology right now, Apocalypse Caused by Magic. Awesome. I love magic apocalypses. There are not enough of those. I have a magic apocalypse world. That's my Weird West Chronicles universe. That's my other world, a World Anvil. It doesn't have as much stuff set up. But I have more published works in that. I actually published a book that was funded by a Kickstarter called Once Upon a Time in the Weird West, and it was a magical apocalypse. So that's... I'm there. I'm in, right? So Chitaku says, hello, and thank you for getting my name right on the first try. Woo, yay me. Okay, cool. That's how it was for me as well. I honestly thought I was the only Twitch writer up until about a month ago. Cool. Well, I will definitely check out your channel too. That is really cool. I definitely want to connect to other writers. Weirdwin works well, but Wordwen is closer. Wordwin. Okay, so it is Welsh. All right. Sorry for my butchery. Chitaku says, lol, I don't see any of these comments. That's because I was reading back the chat while I was in away mode. So, Wordwin says, well, an easy way to tap in is to poke your nose into the Twitch Writers Discord. There is a Twitch Writers Discord. Cool. Okay, I will definitely look for that. I'll search for that on Discord. It's about 100 writers or writing fans in there. Excellent. That's great. Well, thanks for queuing me in, guys. I really appreciate that. And thanks for coming to check out my stream and supporting a new streamer. It's really cool. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the follows. It's great. All right, so if you're still with me, I've yapped long enough here into the second hour. I'm going to be here for a total of 3 hours, so I'll be quitting at 4 o'clock my time. So I'm in the Pacific time zone. So it is 2:20 right now, according to my clock. You guys want to do a writing sprint? And I don't know, what do you say? 15 minutes sound good to everybody? I has coffee now. I am fine. True Undead Hero says, my more novel world that I am working on is a bit more of a later era. It's inspired by the Crimean War. This is what we started talking about, right? And it's from the perspective of about 3 to 5 people from various classes of society. It's also a world set in what would be our 1850s and involves the acts of man influenced by vengeful gods. Yes, he has like gunpowder magic in his world, and that's very cool. Weirdwin says, if links are enabled, I can share the Discord invite or private message to you if you prefer. Well, you know what? I don't think I disabled links. So, double check for me. Go ahead and post it. I think that a lot of writers would definitely be interested in checking that out, and not just me. So, oh, and I'm sorry, yes, I forgot. I had a question earlier that I was going to answer about what I'm doing for writing. I am just using Microsoft Word to write because it's still the standard that is accepted by most You know, when you're doing submissions, they'll almost always be in Microsoft Word formats. So that's what I work in because it's just easiest for translating things. But the Eclipse screen that you keep seeing is the background screen that I've set up as just the background on Twitch, and that's in just Twitch Studio. I'm just using the basic Twitch Studio. Ah, no, it didn't work. Okay, all right, I must have disabled. Why did I do that? I'm silly. Okay. I know why I did that, because I wanted to prevent spammers, right? Okay, let me see if I can change that for the moment in midstream. I don't know if I can. Actually, tell you what, why don't you message me with that, and then I will drop it in the chat, because I'm sure I can do that, and that way I don't have to sit here and fiddle around with figuring out how I screwed that up, or, you know, why I did not, you know, how I fixed that. See, so you're gonna be looking at my thing here. I write in Wordwin says I'm writing in Scrivener. I write in Scrivener, then compile it as a doc or whatever. Yeah, a lot of people do that. I don't know Scrivener, so because I don't know, because I'm a Luddite and I hate trying things that are new when what I'm working with ain't broken, you know. But oh, and thank you VA Hauser for the follow. Right on. All right, stream info settings. I don't know. Okay, anyway, yeah, message me and then I'll share it in the chat. VA Hauser says, I use Google Docs because it gives me a cloud-based backup and I can download a doc copy whenever I want to share it as a file later. Okay, Whispered says Ridwin. Now I gotta find where that's gonna be. Probably in my messages, right? All right, well, I'll look for that. And in the meantime, we will start a new writing sprint, and I will just be a bit behind. We're going to start that at, my clock says 2:24, so we're going to start that at 2:25 my time. So that is 2:05 in your clock there. I'll put that in the chat. Wordwin says, I always say use what works best for you. Writing is tough enough without adding complications. I agree. It really is. Oh, good. A question. How does a word sprint work? Words are hard. Yes, says Wordwin. Okay, Wordwin. All right, so how a word sprint works is in the time allotted, right, which for us will be 15 minutes from now. So 2:40 or 40 on whatever clock you have. We will write as much as we possibly can. And when we're done, we will count the words. And don't worry over much about editing, and don't worry about, you know, overthinking things. I'm terrible at this, right? You will see me delete things in the course of the sprint. But yeah, just get the words on the paper is the goal. All right, and I'm going to look for that setting to see if I can share that with you all. That's probably an account, isn't it? Yeah, VA Hauser says the can't state for this one will definitely do their best to participate next stream, have dishes to do, and a dog and husband to feed. Well, thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you next time. Keep your eye on the channel because the time for this may change. All right, I better get writing. Okay, am I back? Apparently something happened to my interwebs, I think. Maybe my router rebooted, or maybe Shaw did a test or something. Hello, thank you for sticking with me. I'm sorry for disappearing. Weirdness. All right, so the sprint has ended anyway. Hopefully that will be the last of the internet problems. I don't know what happened there. I've got a good connection. I've got it plugged right in the cable. I made sure because I was dropping frames right at the beginning when I was using my Wi-Fi. Wow, 645 words from True Undead Hero. I am certain I have nowhere near that. That is amazingly cool. Good for you. You totally win the prize today, I'm sure. I don't know if anyone else will beat that. All right, let's see here. I will count. Hello? Okay, good. I'm making sure I'm still with because it's not clicking on my word for some reason. Okay, so if it ever lets me click on I probably have too much stuff open is probably my problem. But oh, 625 miscounted. Hello, M Baldwin 28. Welcome. It's my first writing stream, so you're in good company. If it's your first time here, it's my first time here too. So glad you could join us. The plan for this stream is that I will host writing sprints, word sprints, where we write together. And I will answer writing questions in between. So, all right, I'm going to have to close this stupid thing before I can give you my total for how many words I got. And hello, Bigfoot Bjornson. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. True Undead Hero says my little story is basically a person running. Okay, I see what's going on here. Okay, so I'm going to reload my Word program here, and hopefully it will have saved my thing, because otherwise that would be annoying. But Word's pretty good about that usually, so. Pick up where I left off, chapter 27. Yes, yes, it did work. Excellent. All right. I got the name right. Rare. I know how Bjorn is pronounced. But that's because I pay attention to, as I was discussing earlier with someone else on the stream, that I have an interest in Scandinavian languages, and I don't know how to speak it, but I am interested. So stupid thing. Okay. I see. This page is unresponsive. I know why, too, because... Alright, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reload this, too. Hopefully this is not going to kill anything. I'm just going to close the whole damn internet. And while that's going on, I will count my words. I'm going to count that as a whole word, because... Okay, so I only got 151 words in that whole time, because I was screwing around with things. So... And thank you for the follow, Bigfoot Bjornson. Awesome. Awesome! So many new followers today. Yay, it's cool. I look forward to writing with you guys more in the future. That's great. True Undead Hero says, this was my first writing sprint this year. Mine too. The last writing sprint I did was back in National Novel Writing Month in November. So I did not do Camp NaNoWriMo in April because I had a lot of other things going on. So okay, so anyway, I have now enabled the links, or I should have. So I do not remember who it was. My brain and the chat is not in front of me anymore because technically this is a new stream. But it might have been Wordwin, right? Is somebody was going to share with us the link for the Twitch Writers Discord. And if you want to do that, that should work now. So, December 25th, 400 something words was the last writing sprint that True Undead Hero did. Yeah, awesome. Like I said, I haven't done anything since November, so how am I doing? I'm doing well today. I was very excited about this, and, you know, as I realized that I probably look reasonably comfortable on camera, but that's because I am an introvert who is good at pretending that I am an extrovert. When I know what's expected of me, I can perform it very well, but you try to get me into small talk at, you know, like a party, and I'm terrible. It's a nightmare. So usually I'll find the nerdiest person there and go pin them by the punch bowl and talk to them, right? So that I have somebody who at least, you know, do you know what I'm talking about when I mentioned the, you know, the actual comics behind the Avengers, right? Do you play Dungeons and Dragons at all? Do you at least read science fiction? Then I have something to talk to you about. Otherwise, I probably don't. I'm such a geek, but yeah, but I was really nervous about the stream today because this is the first time I've done this format. This first time I've been operating the studio equipment. Normally my husband does it when we're doing our playcasting. So I spent most of the morning futzing around and getting ready and being nervous. So, but it seems to be going fine. So I'm really kind of excited about it. Let me know if this is a good time slot. I may do this kind of thing in another time slot as well, or, you know, it's a good way to get some writing in if I would shut up and stop yapping, right? But okay, so I am going to look for, I'm just so incompetent today with the current material, right? I wanted someone was going to share a link to the Twitch Writers Discord. I, you know, don't remember who it was. It was in the other stream before I had to reboot everything. So, and they whispered it to me, and I can't find that either because I don't know the interface very well. I'm sure I will find it when it's really obvious, but I don't want to waste a bunch of your time looking for it. So, M. Baldwin says it's like 11 p.m. for me, right? So, but honestly, I'm a night owl, so I'm good. Cool, that's great. Thanks for joining us so late. True Undead Hero says, I don't think I could stream. I'm really bad at everything. Nonsense. I don't believe it for a minute. You don't know until you try. Right? I've kind of got this philosophy. I like to joke that I spent my 20s getting my mother's voice out of my head telling me why everything wouldn't work and what could go wrong. And so I just try everything. And sometimes I fall flat on my face and humiliate myself. But most of the time I manage. So give it a try if you want to stream. Bobicus. I'm going to go with Bobicus until you tell me otherwise, right? Says, oh, you need that. And I assume that means the link. If you could share it, yes, please. Someone was going to, and they tried to send it to me, and I'm an idiot, and I can't find it. So, There's a Discord for Twitch writers, says M. Baldwin. I really want to find a writing community on here, but didn't think there was one. So apparently, yes, there is, and I just found that out today too, so that's really great. And there we go. It's actually pronounced fish. Bobicus fish? I don't know what you mean by that, I'm sorry. Yeah, and I guess that's the link, writersnetworktv.com. So cool. I am definitely going to check that out when we're done the stream. Actually, you know what? I'll just open it up right now so that my name is a joke. Cool. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, yeah, Twitch Writers Network community. All right, cool. Now that that's open, you know what? I'm going to just close that down though for the moment because I don't want anything else interfering with my stream. My problem is I have too many windows open, and I would like to say that this is unusual, but it's not. It's not. I do this all the time. But I found it. So cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. I cannot wait to check it out. I'm always looking to connect with more writers. So you can never have too many writer friends if you're a writer. All right. So for those who have joined us since the beginning of the stream, I'm also answering writing questions in between the sprints. I am a published author in a couple of different formats. I've been traditionally published, and I've been small press published, and I've self-published. And I've also edited an anthology and published it with a successful Kickstarter. So if you have questions, right, type question in all caps and then the question in the chat, and I'll be happy to try to answer it. Or, you know, if you got a topic you want to discuss, that's fine too. We're here to write together, right? That's kind of my idea with what to do with this stream. So, you know, share your stuff, right? True Undead Hero says, I would love to share my writing from the sprint, but it's a page and a half. I would love for you to share your writing as well. And you know what? I'll tell you what. I have a Discord, and if you guys would care to join me on the Discord, I will put that in the chat. And if you would like to share links to your writing there, I have a channel called Critique, right, where I should probably call it Share and Critique, but the idea is to share a writing and, you know, get opinions and whatnot. So I will create an invite, and I will invite you guys there. So let's see here. Invites. Create one. There we go. Edit invite link. So, well, you know what? Actually, no, that's fine. I will not edit it. It will be a one-day invite because, you know what? The chat's only going to be up for 2 weeks anyway, right? Like, so here we go. Here's the invite, and if you would like to share your stuff, then I would love to see it. That would be very cool. You would be quite welcome. All right. And I see if my Discord is up, so I see that M. Baldwin J.M. Baldwin just joined us in the Discord. So thank you for joining us there. I will be more chatty once I'm done the stream. I don't want to waste too much of you guys' time. We're about to start the third hour, and I've been spending a lot of time yapping, and I know that a lot of you probably want to write. Bobicus says, oh, I had a disagreement that on a subject I didn't realize could cause any controversy. Another author said, if your world building isn't tied to the plot, then cut the world building. There's a school of thought in writing that everything has to be there for a purpose in the immediate story. And if anything isn't immediately needed for the plot, that you should cut it. And I think that a large part of the reason for that is that every page costs money to print. So in my experience is that publishers want to publish the shortest book they possibly can. So my first book was a nonfiction book on witchcraft, and I submitted it to a publisher, and amazingly, I got the one that I wanted right away. And I think a large part of that is because I'd done a lot of research, right? I know this is like lightning striking that this happened, right? But I got the publisher I wanted, and that was Red Wheel Wiser. They're a metaphysical publisher, middle-sized publisher. and they took the book, but it was 120,000 words, and they wanted 70,000 words. I got the subtitle was a complete course in Wicca and witchcraft, right? And I think that was the subtitle. I should know the subtitle of my own books, but okay. But anyway, I told them that I got down to 80,000 words, and at that point I said, okay, if you want me to cut anything else, you have to change the subtitle because it won't be complete, right? So they accepted that, right? But yeah, so there's that school of thought, right? And I don't know, right? For me, I often find I have to do the world building for myself in order to get a feel of the world that I'm working in, and that may or may not end up in the final draft. But I mean, it's not just about plot, too. Does the world building go to character, right? Like, is it about like, you know, does the world building create your character development? Does the world building, like, is it something that's going to come back in later, right? Does the setting create a theme and a feel, right? I mean, I just think it has to relate in some way if you're going to keep it in the draft, but there's a lot of different reasons why that world building might work. um you know, Otherwise, yeah, I suppose it can bog down the text. But you know what? It's your work, and you do it any way you want because you're the writer and you're the one that's going to have to make the decisions. When you start getting to editors and publishing, then that becomes more collaborative, and you may end up having to reassess whether or not you want to keep that because a publisher may not accept it if you do. But otherwise, yeah, it's your life. You do it. Okay, True Undead Hero says, "Can you link the Discord on our convo? I can't seem to access. Is anyone else having trouble with that link? I will invite you directly in our convo, Barbarossa, True Undead Hero, because we're already talking. I will do that right now because you're already up. So I'll just put in the same link here. There you go. And I'm inviting you specifically to the critique channel because that's what I mentioned. Yay! Secondhand Samurai, welcome. Glad you could join us. Secondhand Samurai is another friend from World Anvil, so glad you're here. And they are in charge of what gets posted on the World Anvil server, and they were very kind to let me post my writing stream, so that's great. I'm really glad that you showed up. That's great. Boba Kiss says, yeah, you're more in line with my thinking. Well, yeah, I mean, like, it just, there's many different reasons, and world building exists to enhance what you're writing, to make it more real, to make it breathable and livable, make people feel like they're immersed in it. So there's lots of different reasons why what you're working on may be relevant, and plot is not the only one. Definitely. All right. And Trended Hero got the link. Okay, so I think we're almost at 3 o'clock here. I think I'm going to take. Okay, I'll answer this question first or comment. J.M. Baldwin says, I think it also depends on genre and if it's a series. Yes, I would agree. If it's a series, you've got a lot more room and you're going to need more world building because you're going to have to come back to it later, right? I struggle with it myself as I'm writing a novel that works as a standalone but as part of a series. I feel you, man. I'm working on that too, right? Like, this is the third book that I'm currently drafting in a novel series, and I've already published some stories in it, right? So, okay, I battle with whether I simplify the world building for the current story or develop parts of it that won't matter until later on in the series. And that's always a hard decision, isn't it? Because you don't want to just kind of drop a big info dump on somebody later, you know, in book 3 and go, oh, shit, I forgot to mention, you know, this whole village that's really important. I better make sure that I, you know, film it all now, right? And yeah, because that feels like you're stumbling. But if you've built it back in book 1, then people appreciate it when you refer to it again and go, oh yeah, I remember this from the first book. So yeah, I get that. And one of the ways people fight that is they often write the whole series before they actually publish anything, which I greatly admire and will probably never do. So, right, for me, but this is why I haven't published the novels themselves yet in the series. I want to make sure I've got it set up right. And yes, it would take a lot of time and a lot of patience. Yes, it would. And I probably don't have it myself, right? But again, if you're constantly like I'm trying to find a balance, right, in that myself, because I want to make sure that there's enough there in the first book that it's definitely like every book should be a standalone. Every book you should be able to read and not have to pick up the other books. But the story really isn't complete that I have in my head unless you've read them all. So it's kind of a challenge. And I do find there's a lot of stuff that when I get people to read, like I've had my first book edited, the first draft, a couple of times now, and when the editors read it, they go, well, there's this loose end and that loose end and the other loose end, and I'm like, yes, but those are come into play in book 2 and 3, and then they're like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's a challenge, right? Another way you can beat that is by doing what I did with my Weird West series, which is by serializing it in chapters, right? You set up, well, parts. You set up a deadline and you go, okay, book 1 is coming out at this time, and book 2 is coming out at this time, and book 3, books, I say, these are more like novelettes and novellas, but that's what I did. And eventually I had a whole novel after a year of working on it and serializing it in parts. And the thing is, when you do that, you can't go back and fix anything because it's already out there, right? I mean, people get really justifiably pissed off with J.K. Rowling and George Lucas, right, for retconning a bunch of stuff that never appeared in the original books or movies that they put out, right? And you're supposed to figure it out and infer it, and that's frustrating. So when you've already put it out, you can't do that, so then you have to figure out a way to kind of gradually work it in as you go. And that one worked for me in that respect, and now I'm trying to bring what I've learned from that back to my original series. So yeah. True Undead Hero says, for me, my brain envisions the book as a list of scenes that I need to write together. That's kind of how my brain works too. I come up with the way a book starts is a scene comes into my head, right? And I go, oh, how did that happen? And then the book, comes from there based on the different scenes that appear in my brain, kind of like I'm watching a movie and I'm seeing sections of it. And then trying to put it all together for me and make it coherent is the challenge. So I totally feel you. And sometimes I can't figure out how to put it together right away. So then what I'll end up doing is writing the scenes and then coming back and filling in the places in between. And I don't like doing that because I find that part dull. And for me, I find it's better to leave the scene if I can until I actually get there and where I've written, because then it's like a cookie that I get to reward myself for having gotten to that point. Right? But yeah, I get you. Yeah, that's the challenge, filling in the middle bits. Yeah. Bobicus says, I start with world building and then I try to imagine a story that only this world could tell. That's a really cool approach too. It's not the way my process works. For me, I start with my scene and then I have a character and then the world grows around that. And I go down little rabbit holes, but that's a perfectly valid way of handling. Well, actually, no, that's not entirely true. I suppose that the original concept of the Weird West came that way when I think about it, where you have the world and you're like, okay, and now what am I going to do with this world? Because I was kind of like, well, what about kind of a fantasy Western setting? That would be fun. What if it happened after the apocalypse so that I can have like little bits of our world show up here and there, which is cheating in many ways, but so yeah, and that's a perfectly valid approach too, right? I think a lot of great stuff. Obviously, it worked for Tolkien, right? And I'm pretty sure that in many ways it worked for George R. R. Martin too. I know that, having heard interviews and read stuff, he started with the prologue scene at the beginning of a Game of Thrones. And then he didn't touch it for years, and I guess he built the world around that in the meantime, and then he came back and started writing it in. Yeah, it is a great scene. I agree with you completely. It sticks with you, right? So, personal complaint I have with the show is that it did not do enough with the direwolves, right? They almost felt like decoration. And obviously, they are intended to be important in Martin's story, in the books that he's writing. So, I can't wait to see how he's going to fill that out. And yeah, no pressure from me, by the way. I have no right to complain. I've spent 10 years working on the same book, and I can't imagine the kind of pressure that he's under after the show. And it's huge success to try to get it right in the novel. And he's got so many different interweaving plots and characters to weave together. It's personally, if I were him, I would probably take like a 2-year hiatus from talking to anybody on the media or anything else and go to a cabin in the woods and just write the damn book. But, you know, he probably doesn't have the luxury of doing that. So, and even then, I'm not sure I would get it right. So, yeah, I got patience. Okay, so we're at 3:06. I figure what I'm going to do here is run out for a quick little bio break. And then when I come back, I'm going to try to come back for 3:10 by my clock, so that's 4 minutes from now. And we'll get on with another scene, shall we? Another sprint, right? Yeah. Just quickly before I go do that, Jan Baldwin says, I never read the books, but I do like the show. I have unpopular opinions about it, however, so I might not like the books. Au contraire, my friend, I think that if you have unpopular opinions about it, you might love the books. The books are very different in many ways. A lot of the stuff that didn't make sense from a story building kind of perspective in the show are actually explained in the books, and I think the books are going to end up going in many ways in a very different direction. So just because so much of it had to be simplified for the show, and because they got to a point where there was no more book to base the show on, so they had to make guesses, right? So, and Drew Ended Hero says, I personally like taking real world events because I'm a history major and seeing how I can use them to influence my world building. That's awesome. I've always been a fan of history as well. I did not go on to college or university because I did not know what I wanted to do. I have some secondary training in herbalism, but I have an herbalist degree, but I did not study a degree, right? But I read a lot, and I have always had a keen interest in history, so yeah. Okay, now I've got 2 minutes to run off for a bio break, so I'll be back. Okay, I am back. Um, that was a little longer than I intended it to be. Sorry. There's been some chatting while I've been gone. That's great. Yeah, True Undead Hero says, I personally do not see enough early modern fantasy. I enjoy writing about the slogs in the mud and the cracks of musket fire and such. Me too. And these are sounds that I love listening to as I'm studying. There is a programs called Sirenscape that we've had for a while, and it's intended to provide music for your role-playing games and playcast streaming. And I haven't used it for a long time. I kind of sort of used it for like uh, for like background music for writing occasionally, but I didn't really use it as much as I could. And of course, since I started streaming, I've been using it quite a lot. And one of the things that you can do with it is that it has all kinds of ambience and sound effects, and you can create combinations of them in your own way. Like, for instance, they've got a high seas suite that has, like, musket fire and cannons and the luffing of the sails and a creaking hammock and all kinds of stuff like that, as well as some pirate type music and that kind of thing. I don't like the pirate type music they happen to have for it, but they have it, right? And I thought, okay, that's very good for my setting, but it's not quite right, because mine is space fantasy, right? So I also downloaded their shipboard science fiction sound suite setting, and I've created a combination where I'm using sort of engine sounds for the ships, which is kind of a low drone like you currently hear in the background with this piece, which, by the way, is the theme music from their Waterdeep set. So I just liked it because it was kind of suspenseful. I'm writing a part that's suspenseful right now. So there will be different music on different streams. It will always probably be Sirenscape, though, because that's free to use on your streams. So you might want to check it out. It's really been very cool for us. I think we supported the Kickstarter, so we end up with all their new stuff as they come up with it, or either that or we've got an ongoing subscription. And mostly the hubby's been using it, but I'm using it a lot more, so you may find that fun. Yeah, True Undead Hero added this. There is just this aesthetic that is so unique about the early modern period that I love. Yeah, me too. Obviously, we were talking about that. My technology and whatnot is based in the Napoleonic Wars era, which is just a little bit after the period that True Undead Hero was writing in. So Bobicus says, I love early medieval when the wilderness on the edge of civilization is still alive. Yeah, that's fun. The forest was a dangerous place still in the Middle Ages, and you didn't know what might be lurking in the wilderness. Excuse me. I have a world I've always wanted to tell a tale in, where the world is new and humans still haven't invented farming, but they roam and trade with the elves for textiles and the dwarves for iron. That's interesting. That's interesting. I find myself wondering, oh, well, okay, so the elves are farming, right? But the humans aren't yet, is what you're saying, because, right, I can't imagine how else they would get textiles. They have to weave things, so either they're, growing cotton, or they're domesticating silkworms, or they're, keeping sheep, I suppose. Variations, right? J.M. Baldwin says, I'm kind of the other way. I tend to write modern stuff, but with a fantasy twist. I'm a sucker for urban fantasy and magical realism. You definitely want to connect to Author Goddess then. Her real name is Sarah Berman, and she writes urban fantasy that is based in Norse mythology. It's called the Rune Spell series, and I'm a big fan of it. I love it. I just love it. So, the elves are magically farming, says Bobicus. That is cool. That is neat. Inducing the trees and such to grow in the ways they desire. That's clever. That's a clever use of elven magic. I like that. That's like the variations of how they're supposed to be able to shape the trees according to their architecture. I'm using a variant of that too. They make spaceships out of a big cosmic tree. So that's cool. Good idea. Very good idea that I might steal. Okay. I'll file the serial numbers off first. No, okay. No, I'll probably credit you, actually, but I'm just kidding. Okay. True Undead Hero says, I personally enjoy turning the colonial trope on its head, where instead of these noble conquerors coming to a new world to take over, instead the conquerors are having trouble taking over. There is no disease that just wiped out everyone, but instead there's magic, and it's the collision of these two worlds that leads to new conflict. That's funky. I like that a lot. Yes, what would happen if the conquistadors showed up on the shores of the Americas and found that the priest kings had magic? I think it would have been a very different battle. Yeah, that's very cool. He says ideas are a dime a dozen. It's cool. I don't know. I'm sort of kidding. I'm sort of not. I mean, like, I'm not going to steal it whole hog, but I might use magic to enhance what they're doing. I mean, that's a thing that often high fantasy worlds don't address, isn't it? And the elves all live in Lothlorien. Well, how the hell are they eating? Right? Are they all hunter-gatherers? Are they, like, picking food off the trees? How are they making those nice clothes? You know? It's got to come from somewhere. There's got to be elf farmers somewhere who are, like, plowing dirt. And you never see them, And I doubt that it's a much cleaner process than it is for humans. So, yeah, I've got elf farmers in my world. So, because I thought about that. I'm like, I just don't see it. So, okay. Well, what do you figure? It's time for another sprint. We'll go for a big long one this time since we're starting to run out of time. What do you figure? About half an hour? Let's do? Okay, that's cool. We will start, I guess, in 2 minutes. That way it'll say 3:25 on my clock, which will be, so that means we'll go until 3:55, and that'll give me a few minutes to close out the screen, or the stream, right? So, Trended Hero says, what are the things that I like about the D&D world? I think he meant one of the things, but it's probably typing on his phone, right? Is that I'm exploring is that the old world is actually way different than the new world. For the old world has already defeated its monsters and its demons, but the new world has not, but instead embraced these elements and built societies around them. So, in this sense, the new world, is almost at the same level magically as the old world is technologically. I thought about that concept too, the comparison of archaeology versus technology, right? And yeah, right? Like, there's, especially if you think about it in terms of a traditional fantasy setting, there are a lot of utilitarian spells. So I imagine that they put them to work in everyday life for manufacturing, for producing food, for, growing crops. Like if you got a druid, in a fantasy setting, you're set, right? Your people are going to eat well. So that's really neat. I love the idea of the juxtaposition, and I like the idea of the fact that in your world there's sort of an opposition, right? That's really a neat idea. Yeah, so thank you to those of you who joined the Discord as well. That was really cool of you. I'll chat with you more as soon as the stream's done here. And hopefully I've got the permissions all worked out now. Right? And I look forward to reading your work, True Undead Hero. Wordwind says, in my magical world, ice cream doesn't melt or spoil, which is pretty handy as well as tasty. I like your world already, and I want to go there. Right. And also, I am back. You're welcome back. We're just about to begin a long sprint, and as a matter of fact, now's about the time to start. True Undead Hero says, I can't stay much longer, but I hope you have a good day. Well, thank you so much for joining me for the stream. Let me know on the Discord if this is a good time for you, if you like the format for the stream. I'm, looking for opinions. Yeah, J.M. Baldwin says, Wordwind, that's literally the best world. Take me there, please. Yes, I want to go too. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start our last sprint here. Half an hour, starting now. And again, in the meantime, if you think of a question, right, and you want to talk to me about it, right? Just type question in capital letters and then your question in the chat. All right, back to where I was. What are you doing? Sorry, my Word program is not working for some reason. Can you guys hear my husband's news program in the background there? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to turn off my mic so that you don't hear that while we are doing our sprint. You will still hear the music though. All right, 1 minute to the end of the sprint, guys. Okay, and that's time, gang. Alrighty, so I'll count my own words here. If I can get this to stop, like, deciding randomly to die and reboot, I suppose. Yep, a grand total in that whole time of 210 words because I was thinking too hard. Spend a lot of time staring at the screen, but hey, sometimes it's writing, right? Sometimes you just spend time staring at the screen until the words come. In the meantime, I will see if I can respond to conversation that has gone on here. Okay, so Wordwind said in response to take us to your world with its, magically preserved ice cream that never melts. It does have the advantage of there being an apocalypse, or the disadvantage of there being an apocalypse. Yes, definitely a disadvantage. Apocalypses are not good. Oh, and dinosaurs. Yeah, okay, I'm out. I'm really glad that dinosaurs died off before human beings appeared. Both scaly and feathered, and giant spiders. I'm okay with the giant spiders. I mean, like, spiders are alright. I don't suppose I would be okay with it if it tried to bite me with a poisonous bite, though. Or, whatever, so. But if you can talk to the spiders before they eat you, they're surprisingly friendly. I type better, but there's a cat. I understand completely. And, yeah, okay, yeah, alright, then I go back to I'm fine with the giant spiders. I'd probably keep them as pets. If they're big enough to ride, I would ride one. I would be the queen of spiders, and it would be fun. Because I like spiders, they're cool. Alright. What True Undead Hero said earlier reminds me of my own thoughts of what could have happened if the natives weaponized poison ivy and saddleback, says Wordwin. Well, I think you'd have to seriously magically enhance it, but Yeah, I mean, yeah. Is the flashing solar, he adds, or they add, right? Is the flashing solar eclipse image a subliminal message? Baba books! That would be cool, but no. The flashing eclipse is a background screen that you can select from the Noob Twitch Studio software, and I've selected it because it's a spacey looking thing, and my other stream is a playcast of our space fantasy, space opera type black powder fantasy thing. So I thought that that was appropriate in general. And since I'm working on the same thing today, I figured I'd just stick with the same branding, right? You know, that would be cool. You should buy my books. I think my books are pretty decent. I think other people think they're pretty decent too. So, I will definitely put some links in the chat because, as we're closing things up here, just because you never know, right? It's almost certainly a key press, but I can't tell which one. I don't know what that means. Probably in response to the eclipse. Let's see. Yeah, that's Bobicus, right? Oh, Wordwind says, I think so as well, but it's not as funny. Bobicus says it's not shift, and it's definitely not a printing character, which leaves alt and control. I don't know, it's just the thing that comes up when my word screen is not displaying properly, because that's my standard background. Okay. All right, and then there was a conversation about how to share your sprint piece in the Discord. Wordwind suggested that a good way to save it is on Google Docs, then use a shareable link. Yes, and that will definitely work. Though that can be tricky until you use some dialogue. Another thing you can do is that hopefully, if you are on the Discord, and I know you came from the writing, I have now given you the Rimo role, which means your name will be purple when you type things. I will change that name to writers because obviously it's going to apply in general to people who watch the stream as well. And if I have done things properly, the little plus sign on the bottom of your dialogue window at the bottom will let you upload a file. Right? So if you want to share your Word file, you should be able to do that there. If not, I will fix it so that you can, because yeah, let's, definitely I'm into, sharing and commenting and critique and everything else. So that would be great. All right, Bobicus did 358 words. Brilliant. Good job. MJ Baldwin did 373 words. Excellent. You've definitely, you're ahead at the moment, last I checked. Yeah, that was it. You were seeing my thoughts. Yes, my blank mind as I tried to come up with how I was going to start the next chapter since I happened to end a chapter in the middle of the sprint. Yeah, that's right. The eclipse image was flashing on and off every few seconds. No wonder you're like, is that a subliminal message? Yeah, it probably is kind of creepy. Maybe I should rethink my background screen. That's funny. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to, create this creepy looking screen, but. Alright. So, thank you everyone for joining me for my inaugural stream today. I really appreciate it. It's so nice to see so many of you, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with more writers. If you want to check out my work, I will indeed put a link because, silly not to. But there is the link. It is right there. worldanvil.com/w/toy soldier saga. If it did actually, there we go. And from there, you can check out what I'm serializing and whatnot. I also have an Amazon page, obviously, because every writer in the world has to, whether they like Amazon or not. So I will take you there. And it's a big long link I'm going to share in the chat, but just search Diane Morrison on Amazon and you can find my published works so far there. All right. And so I'll be back next week. and I hope it will probably be at the same time, but I have to kind of check things out. And there may be other streams during the week along this line, so keep your eye on the channel, and you know, make sure you follow if you're not already following, so that you can be updated when I go live. I may be inclined to do writing streams at 2 o'clock in the morning if I'm bored and awake and can't sleep, just saying. So, and awesome. Thanks everyone for joining me today. I hope to see you next week, and I look forward to seeing your work on the Discord. And it's been a lot of fun. Bye, everybody.